Allison Crow, welcome to Get Gutsy.
Thank you. I'm honored to be invited and honored to share with your audience and share you with my audience.
Yeah, it's totally cool. And y'all, before Allison and I hit record, Allison started it. She shared with me that she's got several dogs, and just to give me a heads up, they might bark. I'm like, oh, that's good because I have a dog now too, and it's so great because my dog. I mean, it's so new for me because like I mentioned, I've never had a dog my whole life, never had one as a kid. My parents never wanted to have one. I never asked for one. I didn't think I really cared that much about dogs. I'm more of a cat person. And then I finally caved to my family's, encouragement and request to get a dog. And she comes with me everywhere. She's always hanging out in my office, and people are trying to get her to go elsewhere in the house, and she's on this couch. I was joking that I have this great couch in my office. It used to be upstairs. We have a library in our home, and we kind of needed to move that out of the library. We put a piano in there, first world problems. And so I had this couch in here that I rarely sit on, but now it's like my dog's couch. Like, who knew I was buying the couch for my dog? So so you have 3 dogs. It sounds like you have a husband. Where do you live?
I live north of Austin, Texas, or northwest of Austin, Texas, in a little town called Liberty Hill. My entire family is from Austin, and we actually downsized a couple of years ago. We were living in our dream home, and we just decided to live way under our means. And so we bought a little suburban house in Liberty Hill, Texas.
Yeah, it's neat when we decide we're ready for a shift. Similar to you, I didn't live in Texas. I love Texas, but I lived in a big city. I lived in New York City, and now we live in this awesome place called the Berkshires. It's in Western Massachusetts. And it was that, just that knowingness that we were ready for something different. At that point, I had 1 child, and I was so surprised by it. I'm like, what? I can't believe this. So how did you know that you were meant to make that transition from, Austin city life to the suburbs?
Well, so I have 2 bonus kids. This is a second marriage for my husband and I both. When they graduated from high school and were off to college, we could work anywhere because my husband was about to be retired from teaching and I could work remotely. And so we looked around and ended up going to Denton, Texas, which is near Dallas. My husband went to high school there, and we found this amazing historic home. It's down in the university, and we loved it. We loved life there. I held retreats there. It had a gorgeous to die for yard, and we just really loved this home. And it was, 85 years old, and so something was always breaking, and I was footing the bill for most of this. And I was also having really successful coaching years. And then the journey of money, of figuring out how to set aside money for taxes before they're due.
Right on.
And yeah, exactly. We got that covered now, but that was part of that journey. And we were living to the edge. And so I got sick with adrenal fatigue, and we could have stayed, but it would have required. Meanwhile, some other things were going on with my parents. Sorry, Mom, but some things were going on with my parents who are in their mid to late 70s. And I was really hurt and bothered by their financial choices. And I was carrying that burden. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, my parents have the right to do whatever they want with their money. I don't have the right to live beyond my means. And meanwhile, our 2 kids were graduating from college, and my husband called one day. I was having a retreat, and he's like, I couldn't believe he said it, because he was living the time of his life. His wife is paying for things. He's just, he's retired at 53 years old. He's puts on his little pack and runs around, and he wrote a screenplay, and he's just living the good life. And we both were. And he's like, I think we need to go back home. I want to see the kids more. And I was like, are you serious? And he said, yeah. And there was just this, I didn't want to be the one to tell my husband I wanted to go back home to Austin. And the house, we love our home, but we don't like our neighborhood. This is not our final place. But meanwhile, it also helped me change my entire business model. So I went from high-end business coaching. Talk about get gutsy. I went from high-end business coaching and doing all the things like retreats and intuitive painting and deep coaching circles and deep apprenticeships to just one thing. And it was a membership at a very easy fee. And at the time, it was like, oh, if we make this decision and we take our expenses from $4,000 a month to under $2,000, what does that do? And so I don't know if you're into numerology and stuff, but it was fascinating that I had a list of all these houses, and I used to be in real estate, and I showed them to my best girlfriend, and she was like, you can't live in this first one. It's a 4 house. And 4 represents hard work. And I actually love hard work. I love working. Working is a joy to me. So we bought a 4 house, and our, cluster mailbox was a 4. And my husband had bought a new car, and his license plate has 444 on it. And so there were just this big swirl of things. And I'm just, from seeing you and knowing you, I know you get not only the outer world dynamic, but the way the universe supports us. And so all of a sudden we're living in this house that is so easy to afford. It's less expensive. It's the nicest home I've ever lived in as far as the house, but it's less expensive than when I was in college. And so it's so fun to create from a place. And I literally took my coaching roster down to 1 person, and I rebuilt this whole organization. And the earthiness of this place supported us. And so we've been here coming up on 2 years, and I have a feeling it'll be 1 more, and then we'll be actually moving into, we'll move into our next incarnation of home and house and stuff like that. But I just love the way this decision to spend less because we could actually is propelling my wealth, both and outer.
Yeah, totally. And it absolutely fueled the evolution of your work and of your business. And I give you credit for honoring that. It's so funny. And, I invited you to come on to the show because I just, how Facebook is a funny place. I'm grateful for it. And there's also some weird crap that goes on too. But I would see your stuff, and we've never really connected so much before.
But we've been connected just through the visual and online, but we've never been grouped together or that kind of stuff. But I just see you in my feed all the time. Yeah.
Totally. And so thanks to Facebook for putting us into each other's awareness fields. But your story is reminding me so much of mine, as I mentioned, just from New York City, and then realizing we want this different kind of life. It was so liberating, and also, whoa, I mean, it was just this wild, okay. And it absolutely changed my entire trajectory for my career, for my life, for my family. And, like you, the business just went through this massive shift. And when you mentioned that earthiness, that's exactly how I feel being here. There's something different. I mean, cities are wonderful, and I just want all of our listeners to tune into that. And that's the beautiful part of a lot of our listeners are coaches, or they want to get into this work, or they're, therapists, helpers, like some in the consulting field, that kind of thing. And what's so beautiful about this, and when you understand the tools that are available when it comes to technology and connecting with people all over the world, is that you can live anywhere that you want to live. You don't need to stay in a big city, whereas that is the case for people who work in different kinds of environments. And that's definitely why I was personally drawn to New York City to begin with, because that was my career. I was going for the big guns, public relations.
Right.
But how awesome is it as women? And y'all, we're recording this on International Women's Day. It's going to air a little bit later than that. But as women, we get to decide, where do we want to live? What do we want that monthly net to be? Do we want to be, living to that edge and needing to produce more and produce more and produce more? Or do we want to make some shifts and just see what will happen as a result? So let's talk about your evolution, that high-end business coaching, and then boom, we're going to move into this membership model. What did you do? Walk us through that process of how you made that happen.
I had was finishing up a certification. Come on, Lee. Be good. Sorry.
It's all right. Hey, doggy.
The trash man's coming.
Yeah, that'll do. Dogs have razor ears. I had no idea.
Yes.
Jeez, they're really good ears.
Sorry about that. I'm working on training too, so I don't just scream at him, stop barking, because then I'm screaming and he's screaming.
Totally.
So I had just finished up a certification in expressive arts, and I spent about 4 years in my business bringing painting into coaching, and I was at the last event, and I went into my website to literally throw up a new coaching retreat, which means just change the dates on the existing sales page, and it wouldn't work. And so I sent it to my assistants, and it took us 2 weeks to figure out what was wrong. And we finally figured out that my website, it was back when everybody had custom built, custom coded websites.
Yep.
And the technology had changed, and it didn't work anymore. So it was amazing that this was in February of 2017, and I had been getting the hints of, I didn't even know what it was called. Now there's membership stuff anywhere, but that was nowhere in my field. And I just got this knowing. That's just the way I create is I get these knowings of reinvention. And so I started shutting down, I didn't do the painting retreat. I started shutting down things, and it was scary because it's like my website was famous, and I was famous for certain things. I was famous for these art retreats, and these things are really working. And at the height of them, I just go, I'm complete. Like, it doesn't energize me anymore. And so then I started researching how my mindset was, if I were going to build this, I'm going to build it as if there are 333 members.
Okay.
The list is not big enough to actually, what all the teachers say, you should have 10,000 people on your list or whatever. I have a much smaller list that's much more loyal. Organic. And I don't know, I just knew. And so I started putting the framework together, and I hired, I got all my debt paid off when we sold our house. And then I racked it right back up to have the membership site built and to have all the the technology of the back end, like if somebody's credit card fails. Right. Those were actually the challenging things, because I knew I could hold space for the number of people that I was wanting. And I just started. And October of 2017, I opened that to the world, and it has grown way slower than I ever thought. Which is fine. I also realized that part of that was my capacity to regrow. Meanwhile, I'm recovering from hormonal imbalance. I'm recovering from adrenal fatigue. So I'm finally back at like full health and vibrancy. And I look around and I'm like, I have these couple of coaching calls, and then I call it loving on your people, where I'm just interacting with my clients and supporting them. And so the foundation of the entire new one thing, because I've been doing all the things, so switching to one thing. And now I'm ready to add the next layer of soulful success. Okay. And so that's the other thing. I went from like, do all the things, go, 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 overachiever, 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 to what would happen if less is more. If more is not better, but better is better. And so there for the coaches out there were some logistical things. I mean, I knew that I had been working with high-end people, and this wasn't just a program for new people because it was less expensive. Right. I had to really, and I still really have to teach people how to use the value of a group program. But I also realized I was tired of paying for $40,000 masterminds. I don't need that much effort anymore. I don't need that much expense, but I do like to have a touch tone of a community that is enough coaching tension and enough creation, but also my people globally. And I don't know if any of there's so many aspects to that question. Clearly, I'm not surprised about it. But it's been really beautiful. And I look up and I'm like, even on the days when I'm like, this is not working, it's all going to fall apart. Like, here's some honesty. Sure. So over January, I grew to 88 people. My goal is 333. And January 15th, I closed the doors for the season, and it hit 88. Okay. And 88, that's $16,000 a month at the old price. I have a new price now of 288. But, that's like, I had replaced my income when I was doing all the things and working all the time for 2 calls a week. I'd replaced my income. And then I've had 8 people cancel. And usually for every 3 that come in, 1 stays. And I have many, many members that have been in this program for 17 months. Right. So, and that's just, it's a whole churn is a thing that you don't have when you're working in the one-on-one world.
Right.
When there is no long-term commitment. And so I knew that going in, but last Thursday, actually, when we had kind of talked about setting this up, I was like, hey, I'm at a retreat. And I had gotten this one email from a client, and it was just really a lot of times to say, hey, I'm going to join this other program and I want all my funds there. And, you know, I've had a year with you, I'm complete, or whatever it is. I had somebody just to cancel my membership.
Yeah.
Wonderful. But for some reason, it hit all the times over the last 18 months that anybody has canceled. And I sat up in that bed at that retreat place and was just like, the whole thing's gonna fall apart. Right. It was such a beautiful revelation, and I'm sure you can get this too. It's like, oh my gosh, there is no end to our reinvention and creation. There is no when I get to X, everything will be stable. Right. We have to trust in the stability of both the universe and then our own resilience. It's not the program that's ever stable.
Right. It's you.
Yes. And so it's like,
the leader.
Yeah, that allowing myself to feel the impact of the grasping of the business.
Yes.
It's not my normal MO, but it's a real slight undercurrent. Like I created this big and beautiful thing and I destroyed it. And then I created this other new big and beautiful thing. And I replaced my income. And I'm hitting a next level of where I want to go. And all that's the humanness. That's what I take a stand for, right? Like And so here's the other process, Jimmy, sharing all this moment by moment with my clients. Yes. I told them on my Tuesday call that I cried on Thursday about a member leaving. And it wasn't so that they would take care of me, but I want transparency for all of us doing this work. Right. We need to know, we know the good stuff. It's on everybody's, and it's amazing. And I'm not trying to focus on the bad, but I remember being in sales and, I was like, I do really well. And then I'd see behind the scenes, and behind the scenes was bullshit. It wasn't true. And I didn't want that. I just decided one day, I was like, I'm going to be a different kind of leader. I'm going to be, at the time, the word authentic wasn't being used, but I was like, I'm going to be transparent and unfiltered. And, that would have helped me, and I couldn't find anybody who did it. And so, I share my profit and loss, the actual numbers with my clients. And it gives me sweats every single time. But I want them, not that mine is right, but I want them to see that just because you have I don't have $1 million business yet, but I had 3 very close colleagues that had $1 million business that were netting 97. And I had
that were what? Netting
97. So they were keeping 97. And I was grossing 200 and keeping 97.
Oh, 97K. So they had $1 million business. They were keeping 97K. Okay.
Yes. And they were managing.
You had about a 50% profit margin. All this stuff, right?
All the things. I just got super chilled. That is not a bad thing to do. I actually want to be a $1 million coach, and I want to net way more than that.
The 97.
Not worth it, right? And I want to give permission for people to do this. Thank you for allowing me just to kind of ramble on. But as you and your clients know, there's so many molecules in the being, in the essence, and in the form of our businesses. And there is no one magic button. And there is no, I share the paradox of we can be both completely confident and successful and insecure and scrambling at the same time. And when we push the insecurity and the scrambling away, it actually is robbing from the confidence. And so that's what this move did is, obviously it was hard to leave something really stable and good and successful, but that wasn't successful in my body anymore. It was until it wasn't. And then, okay, it's time to reinvent. And like you said earlier, we as women get to choose, we get to create. We are the deciders. And what if we trusted ourselves fully? And I was laying under a giant oak tree. There are no trees in my neighborhood. They're all twigs. But I was laying under this 200-year-old oak tree at my old house and got rid of my phone. And I just heard for the first time after 12 years in business, you can trust yourself. You can trust yourself to do anything. And it was like, that's all I have to remember.
Right.
I can trust myself.
Exactly.
How would I act? What would I do if I trusted myself?
Yeah. If you fully did that, what would that look like?
Right. And even when I'm feeling insecure, what if I trusted that?
Mm-hmm.
And it creates magic. And so,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's so fun to pass that on to the other professional women and men. I have a few men in my program. And it's so fun to pass that on to these small business owners and big business owners and new business owners and what I call achievement-based business owners, men and women that have been in business for 30 years. Mm-hmm. And this is my life. Holy shit.
Right. Exactly. That's what I come back to, is how blessed are we? We get to do this. Like, these are the things that we're working through. These are the issues. And, you, like you said, you let this other thing go, that it was complete. I'm the same way. When I know something's complete, that's it. Mm-hmm. That's it. I can't go back anymore. And then it's just stepping into the void of, okay, well then now what? Now what? Now what are we going to do? And it's such an exciting time. And I want our listeners to really take that in. And I don't know if you can hear, my husband is vacuuming out there. We'll see if that's coming through.
That's something that would happen in my house too.
Yeah, like he's vacuuming. But you know what? That's kind of sexy, right? Like, he's vacuuming. Super. I'm all about that. Well, I actually, just as a sidebar, I did I had never done that assessment, the 5 love languages, and there's and everything. And so I'm in a program, and my teacher mentioned that, and I was like, oh, because we were focusing on relationships. And I said, I've never done that before. And I just did mine. Stephen hasn't done his yet, but my top one are acts of service. And so that's an act of service right there.
Yes, so that is sexy.
Oh, great. I was like, oh, I love that, even though I'm recording. Okay, whatever. Yeah. So it's all good. But yeah, I want everyone to really take that. And this is such a journey. It's our own stuff, and so for you, now you're in this model where people can come and go, and that's the whole membership thing too. And so what do you need to do for yourself, for, Allison, anyone else who's tuning in, so that, when someone goes, it's not about you, like you didn't do anything wrong. And so it's working through that. I actually have a program. It's not a membership, but it's kind of that vibe, because personally, I know I wouldn't do well with that. And so I had done that a few years ago, and I was like, that doesn't feel good to me. I need a different energy. And so I did one where I have a program now where they commit for a year. They commit for a year. It's still a really, I know what I've invested in coaching. It sounds like you have too. And I'm like, okay, this is a steal. Like, this is a steal. Yeah. And for people who are earlier on, they may not get it as much, but I know I've invested big time to grow my business. So to be in my community, to be around my energy and my teachings and each other, it's a curated group, it's application. And so I just said, this is a year-long commitment, and they can pay per month over the course of a year. They can pay in full, obviously. And so, we're in that now. And it's just a different energy. Someone's calling me. Who knows if that came through. I'm like, I can't talk to you right now. But so I think we all just have to really tune into, how are we designed? How do we best want to serve? Regardless of how you design stuff, you're going to have unsubscribes. You're going to have people who ask for the refunds. You're going to have people who try to flake out. You're going to have people who don't like that you said blah, blah, blah. And so, if you're not willing to handle those things, honestly, you can't be in business, because those things are going to happen. And if you want $1 million business, I'm on that trajectory too. We're going to need to be okay with these things and to not let it crush us. Certainly we can feel our feelings. And I think it's beautiful that you just allowed yourself to cry that day. And you're still in this whole reinvention that hasn't been that long. You're in another model for years, and you're still, you're in like year 2 on this one. So let's just be real with it. And that's why, and I just want to say, Allison, you're my first interview back on the show in several months. And I've missed this. I have to say, I've missed this. So thanks for, bringing the heat with what really goes on behind the scenes, and how do you create? So you mentioned that you're taking a stand. I'm just going to kind of read what you shared with me. This is something now we're doing with our guests, is saying, hey, when you book your slot, we invite you and you accept, you book your time. Tell us what you're taking a stand for this year. And you said, behind the scenes, and authentic business on the logistics side, and that our business is in partnership with the divine on the mystic side. I love that. Let's dive in there. Tell me more.
That phrase came up one day so in my program, we do live coaching sessions, and then we have one business class and one live class a month. So it's a combination of deep coaching, sometimes spiritual, like live psychic readings, and then other times it's logistic business stuff. And I have this unique skill and I think it's so amazing. Like, I'm really starting to see my soul purpose as a woman and incarnated on this earth. And it is the paradox. It is the paradox, the both and of the divine and the technical, because I'm a weird tech geek, right? Like, and a lot of times heart-centered people we have all the heart-centered stuff and the spiritual stuff, but we don't get all the details. And I have this unique thing of that. And a lot of times when I get overloaded in the business world, or I'm over teaching in the business world. So I had surgery a couple of weeks ago, and I hadn't had surgery in 18 years. I haven't had surgery since I've opened up to my psychic and my spiritual sensitivities and learned how to feel my feelings. And I had no clue that a simple surgery would take me out for 2 weeks mentally because of the anesthesia. I've never heard of anesthesia brain. And someone relies on her brain to serve my clients. And I mean, I rely on other things, but especially when I'm teaching classes. And so it's such a beautiful message. It's like, oh, Spirit wanted to say, hey, by the way, we're in this together. And when your brain's not working, my spirit brain will. And so I just love coming back to that we are both and that we are both one with the divine, and we can be super sexy CEO who understands our profit and loss, and who gets our money shit together, and who treats it like a business. And the whole sliding scale in between, because I feel like so many things pigeonhole us. And so I'm like breaking the rules of being all these things to my clients and in service. And yet that's my unique gift. There's a program that is launched every year. Actually, I'll just say it because it's wonderful and it's true. Marie Forleo's program. So many people have done her program. I'm totally jealous of how awesome and how they marketed it and all their partners. And I had a client come to me and say, I'm in 4 programs. I'm thinking about doing Marie's. What do you think? But I want to tap in. Is there the business stuff you can get here? And so I did this live stream on the way out to that retreat. Totally broke the law. And I was like, here's the deal. I don't care if you choose Marie or me. Marie totally it's going to look better. It's going to be organized better because I think in circles. And she got the outline. I said, ask the members of my group. At least half of y'all have done it. But I'm teaching everything that she's teaching in it. And so I don't care what you choose. If you feel aligned with that, don't choose Marie or me, choose you. And that was the thing that came through. It was like, seriously, I'm not going to take it personally if you need that structure in that format, but choose you. And so often we're inundated with the media that is telling us something valuable, but we've got to learn how to really listen. We've got to learn how to not follow shiny object syndrome, whether it's me or you or Marie or whatever it is. We've got to learn how to really get in alignment and hear and listen to our own voice. And part of that is that sometimes the mystic needs to do logistic. And sometimes I had a coaching call with a colleague we coach every Friday morning, and she was telling me everything. And I said, sweetheart, your due is done. It's winter. Spirit is telling you to honor winter in your body. Do the metaphorical lotioning up. And a client said to me when I was healing from plastic surgery, she said, healing is creative. Winter is creative. Most of us that have a certain level of success have no problem implementing. Our issue is not taking action. Our issue is often chill the F out. Lubricate in the B zone. And you'll know when you're back in flow. And it is, it's tricky. So again, I'm almost confusing myself, and yet
no, it's good. It's that dynamic. And I mean, I think that's, you and I are very connected on that. I am super spiritual. I am magical. I'm all the things. I'm this, woman of the moon.
Mhm.
I'm totally vibe on the seasons, all of it. I just have to share. It's like, this is my favorite pen. It lights up
Oh,
when
I
I
love it.
write. It's so cool. And right now I actually have I have a magazine, a Rolling Stone magazine that I kept on my bookshelf over there, but I'm really moving into this next incarnation of my work, and it's requiring me to be super brave and bold and take a stand and all the things. And this woman is my muse, Stevie
Oh,
Nicks.
I love it.
And
Yeah.
so I have her on my desk,
Yeah.
looking at me, and she's just like, girl, be Jenny, be Jenny, like be Jenny, be Jenny. And yet I too, I'm very strategic. I know how to break down projects. I know how to move the needle. I understand tech enough to be able to work some stuff and then pass off to someone else who's better. And I can like make things out of thin air. I mean, that is what.
Right. Yeah.
And it's powerful, and we should claim that, and I think that's the whole thing around taking a stand, is you don't have to be just this like magical being over here and then like, I don't understand money, I don't understand how to make the thing. And they keep, I have a lot of clients and I love them dearly, but they get in their own way. It's that in their own way, the message, because somebody told them you're not smart or you're a failure or you're never going to figure it out. It's often people empower someone they were in an unhealthy relationship with, and they've bought into that. And so it's this deconstructing of, no, you can do this. You can do this. And we live in a time now, you mentioned the website thing. I mean, websites now are so much easier. I say to my clients, like, 3 pages wasn't a thing when I got started. Okay.
Right. Yeah. Mine right now is Kajabi. I've told all my clients, just have one site. I have 50 and undoing them and redoing them. There's so much available to people to make it simple.
There's so much available. We live in such a powerful time. And so to your point too, I'm glad you brought up Marie Forleo's B School. I mean, that is it's like the Super Bowl, it's like the Oscars. And you know what? I have a lot of colleagues who also went through that program. I considered it at one point when it was, in the height of it's still amazing. But I remember going, but I've already learned all of those things.
Yeah.
Like I actually learned them from the woman who Marie learned them from, which was Allie Brown. Like I joined Allie's program way earlier on in my career. She was my first coach. Like I would only be joining
Allie Brown program too.
Okay. I was like, I'd only be joining just to be in the party. And that's not a good enough reason. Although I have to tell you, those people who rock out the affiliate thing, I mean, that's a major windfall for them, which is awesome. But to your point, everybody, you have to figure out what environment do you learn and grow the best in. Maybe you don't want to be at the rock concert at Madison Square Garden, but you'd rather be in that really awesome kind of private room that only a select few are invited to, because it's actually curated. It's actually, there's some more intentionality to it, because you don't do well with all the noise and you're going to, drown in the comparison trap. And, you figure it out the longer that you go. Allison, you and I have been in business long enough. We're not new here. And I know some of our listeners are newer on that journey. Some of my clients they've had successful corporate careers and they're finding their way here. I don't know how I can turn off my freaking phone calls here. No one calls me. I'm like, who's calling me?
We can't hear it on this end. So.
Oh, good. All right, perfect. It's just for me. I'm like, why are you calling me? Who calls people on the phone? I mean, we don't use that.
Seriously.
Why don't you text me? That's a whole nother conversation. I just talk to people on Zoom. I get my fill on Zoom. So y'all, I love what you said too, Allison. Your do is done. That was good. that was really
right.
good.
And what I love is you said you're a moon woman. So I am too. And I used to feel really insecure about thinking circular. And this year I am teaching myself to think in 3 steps for my clients' benefit. I understand my own complication.
Yes.
I think like the matrix.
Yes.
And not I have a few clients that track with me completely, but for most people, so I'm training myself to think in outlines, and I'm trying
and like steps.
Yeah, I'm training myself. I mean, I did it back before, so I'm training myself to do that. And one of the things I share about my program, I said, here's the deal: this program isn't linear, because I as much as you want your journey as a self-employed entrepreneur, whatever you want to call yourself, a creative business owner, as a coach, it is actually your soul's journey. building a business and going through all this is the symbol for my program is the seed of life. It's a bunch of circles, and there are intersectional and linear moments, but it is sacred geometry. It's always unfolding and it doesn't end. And so, yeah, it's a little messy in here because I want you to be okay with the mess. That's the authenticity. It's like so many of us were told that I remember the first time talking about struggling with depression in my corporate coaching days. And my boss just looked at me and goes, I can't believe you told that. And I said, I now have 74 clients and have 200 people standing in line to say me too, coaches saying me too with depression and anxiety. And here we are coaching positivity and perfection, but we're diminishing the shadow. We don't know how to hold the shadow. But she was so mortified that I shared a shadow moment. And that's when I decided, I was like, oh no, fabulous is real.
Yeah.
Fabulous is both and. It's not the shiny perfection. There's actually a talk out there where I took off all my clothes and I stand in my Spanx and my bra and my panties for a while at 40 pounds heavier than I ever have been.
Wow. Bold.
And it's a fun one, but what was so perfect is I only meant to be naked for a little bit of the time, and I got to yapping like I do, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, this was actually perfect, that I stood here in my imperfection a lot longer.
Yes.
Because that's like real life.
Yeah.
And we can have the exquisite success and the exquisite moments. And so I just want to teach people how to do both and.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Not out there, but also in our minds. That is so loving to be, as we say, so fucking tender with our own thoughts.
Yeah.
And
that we all have them. We all have them. And I'm sorry that boss said that, but it was probably a great message to you. I got to get out of here.
Yeah. It's true.
It happened in my corporate life. I was like, yeah, I got to balance.
Yeah, this is like a full expression of who we are. And I heard Gary Zukav talking to Oprah yesterday on some podcast, and he was like, I'm going to mess it up, but it was like, our personality intersects with our soul's purpose. And we're wondering, why is our soul purpose being stalled, or this direction we're feeling pulled? Because we haven't unleashed our personality, which is dynamic and complex and changing and reinventing.
Yeah.
It blows my mind. And my mind is the thing that needs to be blown. It's
totally.
not my soul or my spirit. My mind.
Because your soul already is. Yeah, it's the mind, because your mind is the thing that will compel you into that next level of the creation. It's like, cause for me, you and I are so similar. It's like crazy. It's like talking to myself. But cause I have this thing. I'm like, I want to find out, I'm just so curious. I want to go in that direction. And that's why I wanted to get this show back going again. I have an event that I'm leading. It's a retreat. It's kind of, I don't know. I'm like, it's retreat, event, gathering. It's just a thing. And I'm having it in May, and it's called Take a Stand Live. And it's that, like, I was just actually this week was finalizing the sales page. A lot of my clients are part of that program I mentioned, Magic Makers coming. I have clients speaking. I have, it's going to be rad. It's here in the Berkshires. But as I was fine tuning, which is such a craft, just why am I doing this? I know I want to, I know I need to, I'm choosing to, but what are we really doing here? What is this purpose? And the message that just downloaded so clearly is a lot of what we were talking about today was, that you have to be bold. It's be fully who you are, fully claim that, being a stand-up leader. And then, from a larger global perspective, we got a lot of crap that's wrong. Like, we have a lot of things that are terrifying that are going on. And these have always been happening, but I feel like it's brought to a whole nother level. And because of technology, we know everything that's happening now. And then things that if we did, we would maybe not want to leave our homes. But, we can really make an impact here. This isn't just this business that we do from home, and we have people who join our programs, and there are larger implications here. And I find it just so exciting that these are the problems we get to solve. And these are the problems that we help our clients solve. So Allison, it's been so wonderful connecting with you. I want to ask you, I'll let people know how they can find you, but before we do that, why don't you share? You've shared so much incredible stuff, but I ask this of all of my guests. What is the gutsiest move you've ever made, and how does it inspire your life and work today?
I love it. So I had married my second husband. We had lived together for 2 years. He got the highest credit score of anybody I ever met. He's a single dad on a teacher's income. He has no debt. He's never known anything but a check on the last day of the month. We get married. I love each other, but I'm of course terrified that I'm going to be rejected. And I call him one morning and say, I just quit my $250,000 coaching job. Mm-hmm. And he was devastated. And so in my process of leaving corporate, which I had to leave twice, but there was a point when I didn't leave them. I actually went towards me, and I had said, I am going to create this business. Mm-hmm. And there was 3 or 4 months, and I was just panicking, like, because I was making up a story about my husband, because he would say, it's a pipe dream, Allison. He just was never in that world. This was
right.
2011, right?
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It wasn't common. It wasn't common. Nobody else in my entire company of 100,000 people, there were 2 of us on Facebook at this time, right? Like, it just hadn't, it's so weird.
Yeah.
And I remember I had been in a coaching program with one of Allie Brown's mentors, like somebody who'd worked with her, and I was all the spiritual work, but I was terrified that he would leave. I also knew I couldn't lose my own music. I had to be me. And someone told me, Byron Katie, before, and so my Bill should trust me became I should trust me. And so I asked myself, what would I do if I fully trusted myself? Mm-hmm. And I remember standing on the stairs. My husband is 6'5", and I'm not quite a foot shorter than him. I'm 5'10", and so we're face to face. He's below me, and I just touched his face, and I said, darling, I know we just got married, and I know you're terrified about me doing this thing, and the kids were still living with us, and we're living according to my standard of living, not his $40,000 income. Mm-hmm. And I said, I know that the money stuff creates stress between us, and I said, but I have to work for myself. And if you can't be in a marriage, if it doesn't provide you the security that you need, I want to give you permission. Like, we can go ahead and dissolve the marriage. I didn't want to call it a divorce. Mm-hmm. And I will never say a bad word about you. It's literally one of these things, like, I have to have kids. I don't want to have kids. It's a deal breaker. And I said, but it is a deal breaker for me if I can't be free to pursue what my soul says to pursue. Mm-hmm. And he just looked at me and said, I'm not going anywhere. Okay. And it was like that stand was my energetic, it wasn't even for Bill. It was for me claiming I trust myself enough to leave my marriage.
Yeah.
Instead of choosing the marriage over me. Now, what's perfect is, guess who's my biggest fan and supporter and believer. And, he just amazes me every single day at the way he looks at me regarding this business. And I realized, it never had to do with Bill. It always had to do with my own self-trust. And so now it's one of my favorite questions, like, especially if I'm freaking out, and I don't freak out near as much as I used to. And it's like, what would you do if you trusted yourself? Right? And that gives me the best answers for my business, the best answers for my marriage, the best, if I didn't need to be people pleasing. And so I'm unwinding all those old stories and I'm creating new ones. But it wasn't the leaving of the corporate. That was a big one.
Right.
The move was literally clearing that air up with my husband and releasing him if he needed it to be different, because I wasn't going to change.
Absolutely. Yes, I love that. Bold, gutsy move. And you chose you, and you did it with love, and it wasn't an argument, and he wasn't wrong and you weren't wrong. It was just, this is my truth, and I feel like that's what it is when you get gutsy, when you take a stand. This is my truth. You don't have to agree with me. You don't have to, but I can't not do this. Okay.
I say that phrase, like, what is the thing you can't not do?
Yes.
That's how serious I was about it. And of course, and now you look back and go, well, of course.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, those are the things, and that's what I want people to walk away from this show and this particular episode is the things that you find that are really hard right now, going, how am I ever going to do this? How am I going to have this conversation? You'll look back 5 years from now going, oh my gosh, you know, and there'll be new things that will take its place, but you've got to get honest with yourself and then get honest with the people who this is going to impact, and then trust that the right ones will be able to come with you, and the ones that you're complete with, that's okay too. You know, I've a lot of relationships have ended on my entrepreneurial path.
Yes.
I know that was part of the deal, but it was, and it's absolutely worth it. And I would do it all again today. And I am, you know, it's like every day we just keep showing up. Allison, how can people find you? Where do you want to take them?
The best place to actually hang out with me is on my Facebook personal page. Don't friend request me, follow me.
Okay.
Right, because I'm almost at capacity. But follow my Allison Crow on Facebook. I hang out on my personal one all the time. My website is allisoncrow.com. My membership program is closed right now, but if you go to allisoncrow.com, you can see the links to it, and there's a wait list. But just come hang out. Facebook is my office building, is what I call it, and I love spending time with my audience, and I'm getting more connected on Instagram. I am a connection person. I'm an introvert, but I actually love feeling the energy of people and sharing. So Facebook is the best place, and allisoncrow.com. There's a week and there's a week of stuff that will be helpful for you in your business. If you want to join my list. I don't email near as much as the experts say I should, but most of my relationships get developed, and I was going to say, Jenny, you probably feel this way too. It's like, I realized that if I died, I might not have achieved this number or this, some of my benchmarks. But if I were to die tomorrow, I know that moms have taught their children how to think differently from the womb on because of me showing up in the world. Marriages have changed. Not only have businesses succeeded, but little things that when my husband comes and says, what's that thing you say to me when we're arguing? I need to talk to my son. And, those kinds of moments that the impact I might not have built a school in Africa like some of my clients do, but I know that my impact has been global and relational, and it has planted seeds for not only women and men now, but future generations, because parents are changing the way they be with their little ones at home. That's what the little third grader who wanted to pray in Baptist school about relationships meant. And so I like you said, there's a lot of horrible things about the internet and Facebook, but I love it. It's my office.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Come hang out in our lounge.
Come hang out. I know, exactly. And that's how you and I met. Everybody, we will have these links on our show notes page. You can go to jennyfennig.com. There is a blog link there that has blog posts and podcast episodes. You can just put Allison in there, and this episode will come up. And Allison, it has been awesome. This is our little living room today. This is our our connection spot, and I'm very grateful for you. Again, International Women's Day, we're recording this episode, and I simply want to send a shout out to everybody who's tuning in. You got to believe in yourself, and just trust that this is a freaking journey. It is a journey. And I always say, it's like when we're done, we're dead. And ready to be dead yet?
I think you and I are really connected. I was like, dude, if you're done, you'd be 6 feet under. You're good to go. Like,
exactly. All right. So when I come out to Texas, we can hang. If you want to come out to the Berkshires sometime, you'll love it. We have Kripalu out here. You ever been to Kripalu?
Oh, yeah, I have not. I've seen it 1,000 times.
Oh, it's 20 minutes from where I live. It was part of my spiritual path. A whole nother conversation there. But oh my gosh. Everybody, thanks so much for tuning in. This is Jenny Fennig sending you so much love, magic, and confidence as you get gutsy. I will see you next time.